the research or observation that we made in the past 6 months, there are currently roughly around 700 registered gaming companies out of Korea. 10% of these 700 companies, which I think we almost had a meeting with them in the past 6 months, have either released a PR article about their Web3 launching plans, or they have put out a job description for blockchain developers, which is usually a good sign. After having met almost all of these 70 companies, we've noticed that probably around 40%, so around 30 gaming companies, are either running an actively operating P2E game or have an actual budget-approved plan to launch one by the end of this year, which should sound interesting for folks here, obviously, but also anyone that's watching this video who wants to tap into the Korean market or any other gaming companies that want to gain users out of Korea. So, since the Korean game companies seem very passionate about this Web3 expansion, I want to dissect one by one what we found out as what they needed. One thing to notice is that Korean gaming companies are especially more bullish, in my opinion, when it comes to Web3. I just shared that around 30 of them have very active plans for Web3. Almost 5 or 6 of them have publicly announced that they're developing their own internally built wallet solutions, sidechains, even their own mainnets. I haven't seen this in any other countries. So this makes me even, again, feel more bullish about P2E in Korea, but also look forward to next year's Korea Blockchain Week so we can actually talk about some of the live cases. So we've met over 100 gaming companies, probably 150 if we count the foreign ones. I just want to explain for the next 10 minutes or so, perhaps a set of different components that we've noticed that the gaming companies needed in order to jump into Web3. I want to break this down to 3 layers of the components that the gaming companies need. So let's talk about this from the standpoint of a game company, whether you're a AAA game domestic national incumbent, or a completely Web3 native game studio full of degens, or somewhere in between. What they shared, and what we've learned so far from the game company, the 3 core elements that we believe that the game companies really should pay attention to on their own, or take care of on their own without any sense of outsourcing, are 1, obviously creating a fun game to play. 2nd, having a very robust sense of community and fandom. Last but not least, having a strong tokenomics build. Game. I'm going to state the obvious first. Web3 gamers are not here to sign into a wallet, make transactions. They're here to play a game. And if you look at the past success of a lot of cases in the Web3 gaming space, a lot of those were either bot-based, auto-click-based. It didn't really require a lot of human interaction, nor strategic thinking. If you look at some of the most successful game companies or game titles outside of Web3, it looks quite the opposite. The point here is that if you're here to build a Web3 game, make sure you're building a game that's fun to play so that you can create a sustainable user base. Easier said than done, but that's how a great game company is born, right? So that's usually the first topic that we try to tackle together when we have a meeting with those game companies. Related to this factor, community plays obviously a huge role in Web3. The advantage that the current incumbents play when it comes to Web3 space is that they already have their popular game IPs, game titles, with sometimes tens or hundreds of thousands of users and fans that they already have. This is far more robust and effective in terms of your community, rather than having some random tens of thousands of Discord server users or Twitter followers. Let's face it, the most popular topic is really about when it comes to their tokens or NFTs. Let's talk about games, and how you do that is obviously by creating a fun game to play, having a strong sense of fandom based on your actual games. Last but not least, tokenomics. The tokenomics word itself throws a lot of people off, but from meeting dozens of these gaming companies, we've realized that starting from max supply, burning and minting mechanism, inflation, deflation scenarios, who gets tokens when and why, these are the very much concerns and the serve strategies that the gaming companies have already put time on when developing their games when it comes to the item economy. So usually our message or our observation for these gaming companies is that go back to all of these lessons that you learned and mistakes that you made when it comes to building this game economy outside of Web3. Probably it's not that much of a difference. Of course, given that there are some factors that you take into consideration when it comes to Web3 integration, but at the core of it, they should be internalized. So these 3 factors, building a fun game, strong community, and having a sound tokenomics, seems to be a must set of factors that gaming companies ought to have, from our experience. The second layer of components, this is a part where it gets tricky because now you're involving a lot of external partners because you can't just do it all. Namely, you need a trusted mainnet to work with. Isn't this one of the hottest topics here at KBW? All the L1s and L2s making all their secret announcements? Well, I got some stories to tell. Auditing services. Usually we used to work project by project when it comes to NFT, DeFi. It used to be a very simple auditing service. Now gaming companies are coming to us and say, hey, HAECHI, we have 5 titles to launch by the end of this year. It requires a separate bridge product. We're building a DEX as well. Can you audit our internal wallet as well? So it comes in bulk with no set timeline because game companies don't know when these games are going to be launched. For sure, they don't know when the codes are going to be finished. And this really tricks a lot of auditing companies because the way the auditing service usually gets done is that code submission is a requirement, even in terms of giving you a quote. Third, treasury management. I can't tell you how surprised our team was when we had a meeting with a global metaverse provider, a global P2E player, was storing their cryptos just the same way I was storing my cryptos through my Ledger device or MetaMask wallet. You're talking $3 to $4 million worth of whatever coin living inside your MetaMask with 12 different random seed phrases under in CFO's brain or on his or her smartphone. Treasury management matters for obviously your safety, but also especially for your AAA game companies who are so used to having a Web2-like control and access management services, and MetaMask won't cut it. Last but not least, gaming companies aren't the only body that's affected by the Web3 specialties. Users are having huge problems when it comes to onboarding into the Web3 DM, obviously. So I want to talk a little bit about the UX part as well. For these 4 components, I want to dive into deeper in the next slides, as again, this involves our capabilities as well, but also our partners' capabilities. Last but not least, 2 factors you just can't ignore: regulation, market condition. And interestingly, neither of them are under your control. Regulation, the point here that I want to make is that you should have your team at least well informed about these 2 factors. So as an example, in Korea, last fall, the Korean FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, has required that if you as a company are in charge of the custody of the end user's keys, then you have to maintain your virtual asset service provider license. This tricked a lot of people off. And honestly, this led to a series of exchanges just complete failing. So what we've learned is that if you knew that before in advance, then you probably wanted to make sure that you have your non-custodial user wallet strategy to begin with, to have your to onboard your users. And this is exactly why most of the Korean companies have no options but to encourage their end users to connect wallet with all of these non-custodial wallet solutions rather than using their custodial wallet in order to onboard them into their game. Market condition. Aren't we all affected by this on a daily life? But especially more so for gaming companies. I've had a partner company a couple of months ago who had what I thought was a pretty decent NFT pre-sale. But their management, at the very end of this full cycle, approved this plan, expecting that this would garner at least 8-digit revenue. And it actually ended up being a 7-digit instead of 8. So the management went back and said, I don't think it's the right market right now. Let's delay it by at least 8 months. We were getting ready to integrate all of these wallets and auditing. And that whole timeline got shifted because of market condition. Again, not under our control nor theirs. This is something that they should all keep an eye on.